We are live. Good morning, Phys Ed Summit. Welcome everybody to our first live session of Phys Ed Summit 3.0. My name is Adam Howell. I am a member of the Phys Ed Summit team and a founder of physedagogy.com. Thank you so much for joining us for the 24-hour back-to-back global event. I believe we have 37 sessions, all free. We could not make this day happen without you. We're very humbled by the outpouring of support and promotion of the summit from everyone on social media and in the physical education community. By sharing with one person, you are able to impact many others, including who wins most of all, which is our students. Thank you so much for being here to push best practices, effective physical education, and professional development forward. This is an amazing physical education community. We're super excited to be a part of it. Reminder that we are using technology and things happen. This is our first live session of Phys Ed Summit 3.0. So if for some reason the video feed stops, please check out the Tozzle for a new video link and hang tight. Just like with live television, anything can happen. It may take us a few minutes to get it started and rolling again, but we thank you for your patience with any technical difficulties. After the summit, we will post a feedback survey to the Phys Ed Summit 3.0 homepage. We hope that you will provide us with some feedback so that we can make 4.0 even better. In order to receive a professional development certificate, we will ask that you fill out that survey because it will be really important for us to be able to collect data on our evidence of impact as if the Phys Ed Summit is helping push practices forward. So thank you for that. I want to share my screen a little bit to show you the Tozzle and how to navigate that a little bit if you are new to Tozzle. So I'm going to share my screen right here. This is the back channel on Tozzle, and you can already see people who are chatting on the back channel. So I'm glad that we've found that out. You can play the video down here by clicking play. I'm not going to do that because it would cause massive echo and audio distortion in our live hangout. But this is where you can watch the video live. If it does not play for you, please post that in the chat and we will give you a direct YouTube link so you can watch live. The first course of action, of course, if it does not work, is please refresh your browser and hopefully it will work then. We had some people have some technical difficulties this morning on mobile devices, but it seems like we got everything sorted out. You can also see the Phys Ed Summit back channel on Twitter as part of this, as well as any resources that our presenter, Mr. Adam Metcalfe, will post in here as well on the pin board. So I want to take a moment to introduce our presenter. Adam Metcalfe is a pre-K through 8 physical education teacher and department chair at the Avery Coonley School in Downers Grove, Illinois. He has his Master's of Education in Kinesiology and Physical Education, Pedagogy and Curriculum Development. He's been using teaching games for understanding and sport education strategies for the past 7 years. He is presented at the 2014 Illinois AFERD Convention about how to incorporate these strategies. And he also happens to have the best first name on the planet. So without further ado, I want to introduce our presenter today, Adam Metcalfe. Adam, take it away.
All right, thank you, Adam. This is going to be the back and forth Adam fest here. But yeah, thanks a lot. I'm really excited to be presenting some of this stuff. And I'd like to thank Sarah GH for kind of encouraging me to kind of share this topic. When I saw that the summit was coming up, I just kind of thought, I'm looking forward to it, but I don't have anything groundbreaking to share. And she said, why don't, I mean, look at your TGfU sport ed stuff. I think people could really take advantage of it. So here I am, and I hope, what my hope is that, you know, teachers out there learn from this and like try to do some version of it in their school because I think it's fantastic. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen here. Bring up my presentation. Yeah, I've been teaching, this will be my 9th year coming up here in a couple weeks. We have a little bit of a late start this year. So can you guys see that all right? All right.
We can see it, Adam. We're good.
Perfect. Yeah, I've been using, so this will be my 9th year of teaching. I've been using the sport ed model for about 7 years in a modified capacity, and I've kind of messed around with some different versions of it. This is really a shrunken down version. If you were to do a real sport ed unit, it would go maybe about 20, 21 sessions, so a lot longer. So I kind of crunch it down and really simplify it, and also incorporate some TGfU concepts. So I'm going to kind of show you how I do that. I usually do about 7 of these units out of 9. So throughout a school year, there's about 9 units that we do that are activity based, and then we have several fitness units as well. So I did 7 out of 9 last year, and the only 2 units that I didn't do sport ed with is adventure and world games, because world games was just kind of exposing the students to a bunch of different games. So we could have done that. We've done it before, but last year I just kind of took a little break and did some of the teaching. But let me tell you a little bit about my school, because I'm in a bit of a unique situation, unique in a good way. I'm in an independent school called the Avery Coonley School. It's pre-K to 8 independent school for academically gifted students. So I always get a lot of people, different reactions to that. Oh, they must be super smart. They must, it must be super easy. No behavioral problems, that sort of thing. There are very few behavioral problems, but the students are fantastic. They're brilliant. They're motivated. Not always the most gifted athletically, but they're willing to learn, and they're fantastic to work with. My school has 1 gym that's a good-sized gym, and 1 field that's a little bit smaller than a normal-sized soccer field. We have 2 full-time PE teachers, myself and then Joe Schalmoser, which I hope he's out there listening as well. He's on Twitter, and he does a fantastic job implementing these things at our school. So he and I both use this format. We are an IAFERD Blue Ribbon program, which means it's kind of the best of the best amongst daily phys ed programs in the state of Illinois. We're going to renew that this coming school year. My schedule, we have a lower school and a middle school, and I teach a little bit of both. I like the variety. Our kindergarten through 4th grade is considered lower school. They have PE every day for 30 minutes. And our middle school is considered grade 5 to 8. And we just went to a 7-day rotational schedule last year, and they have PE 6 out of the 7 days for 45 minutes. Our class sizes are pretty much 32 students, and it's co-ed. So both boys and girls enjoy this format. Why should you use this format? Why do I use this format? This is why. If you look at Career Builder, 10 personality traits employers are looking for, most, and this came out last year, these 10, hard work, dependable, positive, self-motivated, team-oriented, all of these things, if you read the list there, come through in this format of a unit. So the Sport Ed TGfU combo unit does all of these better than any other sort of instructional model that I could think of. Here's some of the things that I put into place. I call it scaffolding to put into place to make sure these units and these types of units run smoothly. Because really what we're looking for is kind of the smoothest experience going forward. So it's really important that you create a positive classroom culture, and you are aware of what's going on. So you have to always keep it positive. You can see in the picture here, students going through and shaking hands after the game. We start training that, in the lower school, so that they are used to, friendly competition, sometimes heated competition, and then congratulating each other. So that's really important, that you have to establish an environment that is leading to positive experience, leading towards physical literacy, so that you can promote further kind of risk-taking growth, so that everyone knows that it's a safe environment. Routines and expectations are hugely important as well, because beginning class and ending class needs to run smoothly. If you want to maximize student engagement, it's really important that you have routines. It's for our classes, we always start with an instant activity, a dynamic warm-up, and then our class flows, from one thing to the to the next pretty seamlessly. So it's important to have routines and expectations. Also, small-sided game experience. So if your kids have experience creating or at least playing and getting some TGfU, that will really help this format move along nicely. For K through 4, I did a create a game template, and I kind of took some of the ideas from Dr. Ash Casey's cooperative learning and made a create a game template. I start using this in kindergarten a little bit, and I pass this out to small groups of about 4 to 5 students beginning in 1st grade, and then they use this from 1st through 4th grade at the end of kind of each of our manipulative skill units. So if there are any elementary teachers watching out here, this is a fantastic way that you can incorporate a lot of these ideas that I'm going to be talking about with sport activities that are geared a little bit more towards middle and high school. But this is great for elementary. Whatever unit you're in, whether it's hula hoops or jump rope or noodles or whatever it is, you can come up with a game. So I pass this out. We select a captain. The captain is the one who kind of listens to everyone's ideas, helps make decisions about what the game's going to be. They're not, the end-all be-all boss of everyone, but they are kind of in control of making sure that disputes get settled efficiently. So they can come up with a theme. What's the challenge of their game they're going to create? A lot of them, I introduce target games, invasion games, that sort of thing. Some of the TGfU concepts that we're going to be going over. What are the boundaries? Draw me a diagram. What are the equipment that you're going to be using? In this, I like to limit the pieces of equipment. I'll usually say, all right, you're going to create a game that uses 6 pieces of equipment. And the kids are like, oh no, how are we going to do that? And then, you just kind of remind them some of the best games out there are games that use limited equipment. Down at the bottom, is there a cause and effect? Is there a target? What are the point systems? That sort of thing. So this template works very well in the elementary age classes to kind of get them used to creating and working together with one another, and then they teach these games. So once they've created these games, we'll swap groups. The captains will stick around, and they'll teach a new group their game that they created, and it's a fantastic experience for everyone because they get to learn a new game and they get to create. Some of the other pieces of kind of scaffolding that are nice to have is going over the tactical concepts from TGfU, knowing the terms and how to do modified gameplay, specifically for the coaches. And I'm going to talk about what the coaches are going to be doing here shortly. The best piece of advice I could give anyone who wants to try this is keep it simple. I've seen a whole bunch of teachers out there on Twitter who come up with this fantastic unit where it's sport ed and they have all sorts of different roles in media and technology. And then by the end of the unit, it's like, oh my gosh, that was a lot of work, and they get burnt out. So if you're going to try this, keep it simple. I keep it simple, and I've been doing this for 7 years. Limit the number of roles, limit the technology at first, and then if you want to introduce technology, there are definitely ways to do it and that it will enhance the learning. I read this book last summer, Never Work Harder Than Your Students, and I was like, this is perfect for me. Because you want to put in the work, you want to do the research, but you also want to let the students learn through their hard work. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. Here are a few things that my students say about this format. The pros: it enhances cooperative skills. We know each other better and can individualize and assist more directly. That's so true. It gives me a chance to kind of get back out of the way, let the learning happen, let them learn by teaching. And if I need to kind of give some feedback or assist elsewhere, that's fantastic. Competitive atmosphere is more realistic. It gives a chance for kind of those lower skilled students who may not be in athletics to have a similar experience, which is nice. Each unit has a purpose. Everyone's putting forth their best effort to improve as a team. And if you don't know much about the sport, coaching is a great way to learn. So a lot of times students who volunteer to coach do so because they don't know the sport that well, and they just want to give it a shot as a leader, and I love that. That's fantastic. Some of the cons, and the students had to really think hard about these, but I think these are a couple good ones about kind of some of the drawbacks that can happen. At times it can become a little too competitive. For those who are lower skilled, the pressure from certain teammates can be off-putting. So you gotta, again, check the classroom climate, make sure you're keeping the competition at a reasonable level. And then also team balance is really important. Mostly the teams are good, but at times gender and ability imbalance can make it difficult. So no matter what you do, sometimes with teams, students are gonna think that you're being unfair. So you just gotta do the best you can and use that as a teachable moment. All right, so I'm gonna kind of briefly go over some of the teaching games for understanding instructional model. I'm not going to get too far into this. There are lots of resources out there that if you're unfamiliar with TGfU, you can certainly find more. But basically, there are 4 categories: invasion, net wall, target, and striking fielding games. And the idea is you have modified small-sided games. You're introducing a problem within these categories, and then the students need to figure out how to solve it. So that's the main idea. You make modified challenges to these small-sided games. So whether it's modify the space, modify the equipment, some sort of scoring system that will unveil kind of the possible solutions and strategies that you're trying to lead them to. These strategies will then kind of motivate the students to get better at the skills. So the strategies and the problems come first, and then the skills come from that. That way they're more motivated by the game to learn the strategies. And these strategies will transfer easily between those same sports in the category. So there's a lot better understanding across the board. Here are some of the key concepts that I feel are necessary in doing this sort of format. So maintaining possession, this is in invasion games, maintaining possession, support, attacking and scoring, defending space. And some of the games that we've done, the sport ed model, are with soccer, obviously is a good one, basketball, floor hockey, and rugby. Net wall games, here are some of the concepts that I feel are really important. Serving, obviously you can't get started without that, and kind of where to serve so that you can create space. Attack, scoring, defending. Some of the net wall games that we've done are volleyball, badminton, pickleball. A world game that we do is highlight, also chook ball, and spike ball is a new one. Target games, key concepts. I think for me, etiquette's important with target games because these are games where you have to kind of take turns. There's not really a lot of defense involved. So learning how to take turns, whether it's for safety or because it's time to take turns. Concepts as far as aim, accuracy, scoring, how to make adjustments, trajectory, speed, power, form, that sort of thing. Bowling, archery, golf, pétanque is a French game that we play, one of our target games. And lastly is striking and fielding games. And so first of all, you got to know how to strike a thrown ball or a rolled ball, like for example in kickball, softball, cricket. You got to go over base running strategies, defensive strategies, and outs. So if they don't know outs, these striking fielding games can be very confusing for some of the beginners out there. When you intro sport ed and when you kind of introduce this instructional model, you got to let the students know that they're going to be part of a team and the team stay together throughout the unit. There will be a coach, and I'll go over a little bit more about that. But the student coach can be a volunteer, and you're going to coach your players on your team. The teacher is the league commissioner. So the teacher kind of sits back. I mean, not completely sits back, but you are kind of observing and making sure that the coaches are doing a safe, appropriate job, and making sure that they're kind of getting the gist of what's going on. So as a teacher, it's a really kind of a unique role where you are just facilitating and posing questions and helping out as needed, which is really nice. Also, the sport ed model has kind of 3 distinct seasons. You got the preseason, which kind of going over the strategies and tactics and getting prepared for the regular season. And then from the regular season, you're seeded for the postseason, then you have a championship at the end. It's important, I think, to find an emotional connection. So provocation. I learned this from Andy Vasily at the PE Institute a couple weeks ago, and I was blown away. I was like, this is such a nice thing to kind of show a video that's going to kind of bring everyone on board, get them motivated, and kind of build that kind of culture of team. It's also important to kind of state the purpose of why are we doing this unit. We really want to kind of expose the students to the culture of sport, what it's like to work on a team in an authentic environment. So the authenticity of kind of a real, meaningful game, so they can feel kind of that pressure, and how do they respond to that pressure? How do they respond to setbacks? So it's really motivating, and it gives the students autonomy. It's their team. When they're coaching, they have a lot of freedom to kind of do kind of what they think is important with their team, which is nice. And it's also important to state what this unit is not. It is not the Olympics. It is not the World Cup. It is not fights to the death. You got to be reasonable with the level of competition. And again, that goes back to creating a nice, positive, classroom culture. All right, so when you're getting coaches, we're getting into kind of how I do this and how this works from the beginning. You want to get volunteers if you can. And some schools have done like a job application on tell me why you would be a good coach and this and that. With my class sizes, I usually do 4 to 5 teams. So that puts it at like 6 or 7 students per team, including the coach. As far as coaching goes, we've done it both ways where the coach does not play, they only coach, or we've done it as kind of a captain. They play while also being in charge of their team. Both ways work great. I found that over the past few years, most kids want to play. So they'll coach, but only if they get to play. So that's fine as well. And if you have like an injured student, they make a great coach, as long as they can kind of, address their team from the sidelines or whatever. You can make modifications with that. But yeah, if a student's injured, they make a perfect coach. I use the app TeamShake to kind of create the team. So I'll get volunteers, and then if you can see in the at the top of the spreadsheet where it says opposed team, you can put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, separate those coaches out so that they go on opposite teams. And then if you look at the strength at the top as well, this is kind of athletic ability. So a 0 means they're pretty average, 1 is they're good, and 2 means they're phenomenal. And then you have negative, which are kind of the lower skilled, so -1, -2. This will help balance the teams out as best you can. So you give it a shake, and then you kind of give it the eye test. So once these shake out, give it a look. If it looks good, or if you need to make any changes, you can always shake it again. And then once you've kind of settled on the teams, then you can kind of post it for these students to kind of check out.
Hey, Adam, I have a quick question for you.
Sure.
On making teams, a question came through the back channel on Tozzle on kind of wondering, are you creating these teams for the entire unit? Are they mixed as far as gender? Like, what considerations do you take with those, like gender and mixing teams? I know you demonstrated Team Shake. Do you just factor that in a Team Shake? Is Team Shake able to do that, or do you take some other considerations into play when you're making those teams?
Yep, that's a great question. Yes, I have it set up so that it's balanced strength and balanced gender as much as you can. So if you have it set in your configuration options, it will kind of automatically set that up for you. I've also done it just in Excel, where I kind of do this same sort of thing. So if you're not comfortable with the app, you can kind of do this on your own with an Excel spreadsheet where you're balancing the teams. It takes a little bit longer, but it's still worth it to make sure that these teams, and yes, they will stick with the team throughout the entire unit. So whatever you settle on after you give it the eye test, you post it on the spreadsheet, and that's pretty much it. There are cases where we have made some trades, and you can let the students know that in advance as well. Say, hey, these are the teams for now, but hey, I could make a trade, and let the students know that only the commissioner, only the teacher is responsible for making trades. It could turn into a real disaster if the coaches start talking about trading players. That would be, again, that goes back to the classroom culture of everyone feeling like they're part of a team. But I have had situations where I've had to move a student from one team to another, and I usually swap out 3 or 4 students when I do that, just so it's not obvious. So otherwise, these teams stick together throughout the unit. If they have issues that are manageable, they'll have to figure that out through kind of working together and that sort of thing. So I hope I answered that question, but yeah, you can set that up in the configuration options in Team Shake. All right, so from there, I will post the schedule, and I post it on a spreadsheet where I leave the top of it blank, and it's usually between 9 to 12 sessions for the whole unit. The fitness trainer is indicated by the letter F, and then we have equipment manager, publicist, and the coach. The coach stays the same, but fitness trainer, equipment manager, and publicist, those jobs all rotate every day. So I write the date at the top on the whiteboard. I tell everyone, hey, check your job for today. Here's what we're doing, so that they report to class and they know what job they're doing that day. And that's really, really important for the whole unit to run smoothly. And I'll get more into what those job titles actually do, but that's just kind of the schedule rotation. Before the first practice, let the kids know, hey, this unit will be this many days, whatever that is, usually 9 to 12, 45-minute sessions for me. Whatever it is at your school, you can modify that. But usually we do 3 preseason practices, 3 to 4 regular season days of games where we have like 2 games going on at a time, and then 3 to 4 postseason tournament. So again, usually 2 games at least going on at a time. Also, before the first practice, you want to give the team a team contract. So come up with your team name, what's your color, and then kind of read through the fair play agreement. This is really important to make sure that everyone kind of knows, again, the purpose of this unit. And then they all have to sign it. The coach should also select an assistant coach. So someone who's knowledgeable, high level of integrity, someone who can assist when the coach needs assistance, or if the coach is absent on a day, the assistant coach will fill in as the coach. And then also this person, we've done it where they are the in-game referee. So if 2 teams are playing, there's a dispute about a play or call, only the assistant coaches get together and they talk about it, and then they make a decision. So whether it's rock, paper, scissors, or they talk through it, they make the decision together. Preseason routine. So fitness trainer, this is the person that day who's going to take their team through the warm-up. You can use a task card and they lead the team through the warm-up. Meanwhile, at the start of class, while the team is getting warmed up with the fitness trainer, the coaches meet with me. The coaches meet with the teacher, and we discuss the daily objectives for that day. I usually will provide a task card so that they can kind of get some ideas about how to implement some of the teaching cues and some of the modified games. But again, keep this simple, because you don't want the student just doing what you tell them. So keep it simple and let them have some autonomy to create what they're doing with their team. An example might be we're working on maintaining maintaining possession, using warm defense, which is at least an arm's length away. in maybe a 2-versus-1 or a 3-versus-1 modified game. So see how they, take that information and put it into their team's practice. Some other things that you'll need to do is kind of brainstorm a few ideas with the group of coaches. Say, okay, what might we do today if we're working on, creating space or whatever it is you're working on. And then give them a couple simple tips about establishing an appropriate level of authority, because this can be a problem. Make sure that your students are listening. Keep the equipment out of the way. If you want to have your students seated or standing or whatever it is, make sure that they know what your expectations are when you're teaching as a coach.
Hey, Adam, I have a couple quick questions for you.
Sure.
Maybe it's a good time for those. Number one is, do you differentiate between, how you implement sport education depending on the grade level? Like what grade level, you're K8 or pre-K8, right?
Right, yeah.
What grade level do you really start with sport ed? Is it all the way down at your lower elementary levels, or are you starting maybe 3rd, 4th grade and up, or what grade levels?
As I mentioned like earlier, that create a game template, we start something like that in kindergarten, where kind of I facilitate kind of the questions that are on that template, and then they kind of chime in. In 1st through 4th grade, that's when I start putting them into small groups, and then they create games on their own. It's not specifically for a sport or a sport ed unit, but they're creating and getting used to some of the terminology at that point.
Okay.
We don't start this version until about 5th and 6th grade. So 5th through 8th is this format. We do a lot of. We do almost exclusively, as I mentioned at the beginning, we do 7 out of 9 units at the 7th and 8th grade level. So almost all of their sport units are this format. But 5th and 6th, it's a little bit more TGfU, introducing them to sport ed. But you can do this, at a 3rd and 4th grade level. If you kind of put some of these routines in place, I think you can pull it off.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. And the next question, kind of, when you're making teams and assignments and the work you put in to make your sport ed unit successful, how much class time are you spending on that, or how many lessons are you investing into that?
I'm sorry, how many lessons am I investing?
Yeah. Like how much time could you estimate that you're spending on, the team assignments and doing all of that background work that you need to do to set up your students to be successful in sport education? How much time are you investing with that?
I usually do all of that on my planning time. So I'll at the end of say if we have a fitness day and we have like 5 minutes or whatever at the end for a cool down, that's when I'll ask, hey, our next unit is coming up. It's going to be floor hockey. Who would like to be coaches who haven't been a coach yet this year? So they raise their hand. I jot down their names, who's going to coach. And then I take that, and then the next day I'm ready to post their teams.
Okay.
And then once I post their teams, they know their job. But if you've never done this before, it may take 10 or 15, 20 minutes. And you can spread that out over a couple days if you want, to kind of introduce, hey, we're going to try a new format. It's called sport ed. Here's kind of the gist of it, and your kids will start to get really excited. But you have to lay that groundwork. So maybe 1 or 2 classes before you actually start to prep them for what's coming up.
I think that's a good suggestion you made too. Chunking it out over several class periods, a little bit here, a little bit there, rather than all at once. For sure.
Right, because otherwise you're going to get the eyes rolling like, oh, what is this coming up? So
right.
But yeah, if you really like, provocation is huge as well. So get them emotionally tied in, get them excited, and then kind of you have to do kind of the background work as far as the team setup, and establish the routines and hold them accountable for doing the routines as well.
Sure. And last question before I'll let you keep going here is, could you just clarify a little bit? I have some questions from some people on the Tazzle about, you say the presentation says hybrid, TGfU /sport ed. Could you just clarify a little bit what you mean by hybrid? I know you're talking about how you implement these things in your class, but I think there might be a little bit of confusion on people wondering if you're changing core elements of sport ed and TGfU, or if this is just how you're using both within your classes.
I'm going to get into that. So
Okay.
that's coming up here in just a couple minutes. So if you could hold tight, I will kind of show you how to do that. So I'm just kind of going over some of the routines that are important for the sport ed part of things, and then we'll get into some of how you introduce the concepts. And then at the end, I'm going to provide 3 different ways you can do this sort of format using more TGfU or using more sport ed. So there's kind of 3 different versions that I'd like to introduce to everyone.
Awesome. Good segue.
So we'll get into that. So I'm going to try to just breeze through some of these, but these are important as far as establishing the routines. Allow teams to practice. So when you're introducing that TGfU concept, whatever it is, maintaining possession is a huge one. Let the coaches know. They come up with the games with their team. They practice it. Bring them back as a class and say, hey, what are we learning today? And then see if the students are actually getting what you're intending them to get. So make sure you check for understanding at some point, and then send them back and let them know, that, okay, we're going to continue with your practice. You're doing these things well, that sort of thing. And then at the end of class, if you're a publicist that day, let them know, hey, publicists, it's time to do your write-up. And they can kind of leave. We just do paper pencil write-up, 3 to 5 sentences about what happened today with the team. Don't just give me the score. Give me something interesting. Steven had a really good game today. He was really helpful to so-and-so. So those type of things are really what I look for. So a quick write-up at the end for each team's publicist that day. Your first practice will most likely be a failure, and this is hugely important. It is a disaster. It's hard as a teacher to kind of like sit back and see some of the things that happen, but as long as they're safe, I think it's okay. And as long as they're not like fighting and that sort of thing, you got to kind of let them figure it out. It's a huge learning experience on the first day. When the players at the end of class are cooling down and stretching, meet with the coaches and then say, okay, what worked well, what was difficult, what was sort of a failure, and kind of troubleshoot with the coaches. Say, hey, what sort of modifications can we make? Because you'll always hear, players wouldn't listen, they kept bouncing the ball, or Jake was just goofing around the whole time. So you kind of pose the question, okay, what are you blaming the players here, or can you ask yourself, what could I do differently as a coach? And these coaches are beginners; they're teaching their peers, so they're going to be beginners at it. And over the course of doing this multiple times throughout the year, they're going to get better and they're going to grow in confidence. So give them some pointers about what they can do, and then the second and third practices are much better than the first. Here are some examples of how I structure, and this gets into part of the TGfU concepts part of it. So in the first practice of an invasion games, here is how I do it. You could do it differently or however you want. But first practice, we usually go over maintaining possession. That's the main objective. Teach your teams how to start, stop, restart, what are the boundaries, that sort of thing. Second practice, support. So how are you moving off the ball? Attacking, scoring, and then introduce some defense that second day. Third day, you're getting into game strategies. Come up with some plays or some sort of offensive, defensive system. During my flag football unit, it was hilarious. I had like quarterbacks like calling out audibles from the line, like avocado, avocado, and moving their players around like they were, Peyton Manning. And I had a kid come up to me and say, like, all right, well, what are they yelling avocado for? And I have no idea. That's something that they came up with. That's their audible system. And but so during that third practice, they can come up with some systems or plays that they want to come up with. Also, that third day of practice is a good day to scrimmage another team just to get used to the flow of the game. For net wall, you're going to be setting up the attack, creating space, and then again going over boundaries on that first day of practice. So it's a lot of kind of working on passing and setting up, for the attack. Second practice, usually introduce the serve, and that's really important. Go over how to rotate the serve when a point's scored. Also how to attack, whether it's, a smash, spike, whatever it is, in pickleball, badminton, those net games. And then the third practice, you're gonna, again, introduce game strategies. If you have a play or a system that you wanna go through, and again, scrimmage with another team on that day 3 of practice before the regular season starts. Striking and fielding. So again, I structure first practice, we're working on striking to open space, also how to advance as a base runner, and then go over a couple outs. Don't go over all the outs, but maybe just like caught fly ball or a tag play, what that means. And then again, boundaries are important on the first day. At the second practice, discuss defensive spacing, some strategies there. Batting order is huge. You got to make sure that they know what a batting order is. Force outs can be a little complicated, so you can introduce that on the second day of practice. And then base running strategies, tagging up. Again, that's confusing for a lot of beginners. And then third practice, game strategies, scrimmage, and then also peer and self-assess a little bit on that third day, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. When you're peer and self-assessing, this is something that I did not do very well my first couple years of this format. This past year I did a Google form, and I set it up just like this with a grid system, and it took kind of a lot of work to set it up, but then I could just reuse it throughout all my other units. But it's got a rubric at the top. You can look over the shape grade level outcomes to kind of figure out what sort of things you're going to put in the rubric. And again, these are TGfU concepts that I put in the rubric, so that we're looking at concepts, not just skills. So how are they putting these strategies into practice in game forms? So every couple days I have the students assess themselves and their teammates, and with we have 6 iPads, so they kind of share those, and they assess themselves and their teammates within, I don't know, 90 seconds or 2 minutes at the most. And then I take that data, I look at it, I process it, and I kind of have a system of doing that. And then I use like an autocrat email where I'll send them a quick email saying, here's how you're doing so far. And as part of my processing, I take what their teammates have said, and then I kind of compare it to what I have when I look at their skills and how they're implementing strategies. And then I send that along to them so that they can kind of get an idea of how they're doing and what to work on. Now we're getting into regular season. So when you're scheduling your regular season, however many teams you have, like I said, I usually do 5, where we have 2 games going at a time, and then one team is either practicing or they are refereeing or umpiring whatever game's going on. I use Fixture Maker to set up the schedule, and then they kind of play through the regular season games. We make any changes we need to, and then based on regular season records, we seed them into a postseason tournament. You can do single or double elimination, however, whatever time allows you to do, or whatever your space allows you. And this is important to review kind of the fair play agreement and discuss the spirit of the game so that it doesn't get too intense. A lot of times, students will come to class a little bit nervous because it's the postseason and they don't want to let their team down. But again, you got to kind of let them know, hey, that's not what this is about. It's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to lose a game, and what can you learn from that? So again, throughout the regular season, postseason, you're peer and self-assessing. And then at the end, this is kind of up to you, a celebration, but more importantly, give them something to reflect on. What went well? How did you improve as a team? From my personal experience, I keep the recognition of the champion to a minimum. And that keeps the temperature down a little bit as far as the competition. We've had students who, when they lose in the championship game, there's tears and they're upset at people. So if you can kind of keep that under control, I think that's huge to create a positive learning atmosphere. So I always say keep the celebrating to a minimum. Acknowledge what they've learned more than anything. And here are the 3 ways that you can implement this. Here are some ideas. First one is the way that's the easiest, and this is the way I've been doing it for years. Use TGfU concepts to promote strategies and skill enhancement. So give the coaches a concept, maintaining possession, setting up the attack, whatever it is, creating space. defending space, and then see what they come up with to teach their classmates that skill, and then what adjustments can they make during the regular season and postseason based on those concepts. The teams remain the same throughout the sport unit, and that's usually about 9 to 12 sessions for this type of unit. So it's one sport, whether it's, we're doing basketball for the next 9 to 12 session, here's your team, and then you kind of go through the season that way. Another way to do it is have a category unit. So for the next 9 to 12 sessions, we are doing invasion games. So the teams remain the same, but the sport or the implement could vary. So maybe you'll do a couple days of soccer, a couple days of ultimate, a couple days of flag football. Again, you want to limit the number of sports so that they get, a little bit of experience with a few of them, but it's an invasion games unit. They are the champions of the invasion game unit, or whatever it is. So keep the theme the same, but the sport changes a little bit. And the last one, and this is the one I'm going to try this year, is give an elective unit. And this would be helpful if you have a couple teachers who are on board and want to kind of have the students elect and then split those students into a different sport. So they can choose. So give them a category. So we're going to be doing net wall games for the next 9 to 12 sessions. Which one do you want to do? Either pickleball or volleyball. You can select into it, and then from there you get coaches, divide the teams out, and then you go through your season. So that would be nice if you have several teachers who are on board. So here's a quick recap, but I want to leave time for questions. So if you have any more out there, Adam, let's run through them.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. And we have about 5 minutes left before we need to kind of wrap things up, and I got to get ready to moderate our next session.
Mm-hmm.
But had a lot going on in the back channel. One question, first of all, is how often do you see your students, and what is the time frame, the duration that you see your students for?
We're fortunate in Illinois. We are the only state that has daily PE required, so we see them every day. Except for this past year, we went to a 7-day rotation. So for our middle school, we see them 6 out of 7 days. Again, my school is independent, so we don't have to follow kind of the state guidelines. But every day for lower school, it's 30 minutes. And then for middle school, 6 out of 7 days for 45 minutes.
Cool, thank you. What is a question from Eric? What is your preseason format for target games?
Target games, I actually haven't done yet. So I would love to see someone take this format and do a target games format. But if you go back and kind of look at that format, I kind of put, here's what I would do on the first, second, and third day. If you kind of rewind it and look at, I think I put it in there. But you would kind of go over sort of the etiquette, taking turns, how to score, how to aim, that sort of thing. So if you wanted to do golf or bowling, those types of things, again, you got to really be fair about your scoring. Otherwise, I think it would be fantastic to do target games or like a variety of them where you're doing archery, bowling, and golf or something like that. I think it would be fantastic to have a team stick together and go through that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be interesting to see that a sport education unit in target games. I've never attempted that either. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Next question. So this is from someone who sees their students a little bit less than you. So they'd like to pick your brain. So if you saw, say, elementary students 3 times a week for 25 minutes, like what would your thinking be on how you would break down working on skills versus gameplay within this format?
For lower school or for the elementary age kids, the TGfU concept is to kind of flip it. So introduce concepts or introduce a problem and then lead them to the skills to solve that problem. So for 3 days, I would say on the first day, go over, here's kind of the idea of the sport, here's the problem, here are the modified rules. of a game and then let them go play. So I would focus more on the TGfU side of things than the sport ed side of things at first. And then if you want to get into like gameplay, I would do that on probably the third day where it's kind of a meaningful game with their team. But yeah, if you're seeing them 3 times a week, I would say preseason for, again, probably at least 2 of those days, and then hopefully carry it over to the next week. But you could do, I think, an elementary version of this in 6 days, I think, with, you know, 2 to 3 preseason, and then get it in some games where they're playing. You don't necessarily have to have like a championship for that age group, because again, you want to focus on the learning, I think, more than anything.
Sure, absolutely. How about during all your time using sport education, what's the biggest issue you've encountered, and how did you overcome it?
Biggest issue is the competitiveness. That's the main thing. So you always have to go back to, why are we doing this unit? Because like I said, I teach at a school for gifted students. They're all really bright. They're all really motivated. They all want to be leaders. So this is a chance to learn how to lead and learn how to be led. But they're so competitive that they sometimes lose sight of that. So that comes up almost every unit, where the level of competition gets a little bit too high, and then I always have to kind of remind the coaches, hey, let your team know that what this is about. Okay, we got to keep the temperature cool in here, and address it as a class. What could I do differently as a teacher to make sure that everyone stays safe and that this is a safe, competitive environment that's fun? Because it's not fun if you have, you know, people who are too competitive, and it gets to be, you know, a safety concern as well. So just be mindful and keep letting the students know, here's the purpose. This is not, you know, the Olympics. This is a learning environment. This is a classroom. But that's the main thing that always happens, too competitive. So you got to bring it down.
Sure, absolutely. Thanks, Adam. There are a couple more questions in the Tozzle, but I need to kind of end this presentation now. So Adam, if you could pop over to the Tozzle, maybe you can help some of those people with those questions, and carry the conversation on Twitter or Voxer maybe would be a helpful way to discuss it. I see a couple on how you fit some other standards into the format, such as dance and a couple other things. Are you able to see those, Adam?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I'll jump in there within the next couple minutes, because I think, yeah, I'll jump over to there. But yeah, thank you very much.
Good. Yeah,
everyone.
Thank you. That was an awesome presentation right there. Do you know how many viewers we had, Adam?
Oh no, how many?
You want to know? We had 80.
80? Okay, that's pretty good.
So that's fun. I mean, how's that for a class size right there?
Yeah, good. And I hope people use it. So that's the main thing is I hope they got something from it, and felt like I was speeding through it, but we managed it. So yeah, thanks.
That's great. Thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate it.
All right, take care.
Take care.